I think we've got everybody here now. How are you guys doing today?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
More taco chip.
So we're having a special streak here with our Culinary Institute. We keep doing fun, sugary, yummy desserts.
They're gonna get
So we're just gonna continue that trend today. So does everybody have a bowl?
Yes.
Yeah. And we've got like numerous sort of utensils that we might be able to use if we need them. You guys have your butter that's soft.
I have enough.
Okay.
I have enough, right? I have enough, right? I have enough, right? Do I have enough?
Here's what I'm gonna do. Yes, they're vanilla if you have it. It's not necessary, but if you've got it, it's a plus. And how many of you opened up your pumpkin today? Did any of you open it up yet? Oh, mine's stuck back together. That's interesting. I think mine froze together. Did you open it up? What's inside? Do you see? What's inside those pumpkins? I don't know what's inside mine. Why mine's not cooperating. Hold on. Let's see if I can pry this guy open. I just cut it up yesterday. Oh, there we go. Look at inside this pumpkin. Look at all those things in there. What do you think about that? It's kind of messy. There's seeds, there's goopy goop. It's actually fun. If you want a fun sensory experience after class, just plow your hands in it. And then I did give you guys a recipe for making pumpkin seeds. It's a process, so you have to let it dry for 24 hours, but they're so tasty. They're one of my favorite snacks. So that's inside of, I wanted you all to have pumpkins today so you can see, and you can take your pumpkins, you can paint your pumpkins, you can decorate your pumpkins however you want to do. That's my little gift to you. But if you do cut the top off, definitely get your hand in there and see what that's all about. If you're gonna make pumpkin seeds, then you're gonna need to pull these little seeds out, and then an adult will wash them all off for you. And then you let them dry. And once they're dry, that's when we put them in the oven. But so that's another project, but I wanted you to see what the inside of the pumpkins look like. Now, if I took some of the insides, not the seeds, and if I blended them up really, really good, you would get what's in your orange cup that I gave you. And that's pumpkin puree. So that's all puree. And you can smell it, you can taste it. That's what pure pumpkin tastes like. Usually it's not something we eat by itself. I wouldn't recommend it. We typically add it to things, but you can add it to lots of things. You can add it to your coffee, for all of you who are drinking coffee at home, with some spices and some sugar or agave. It's real tasty. But it's okay, we're gonna start. I'll put my pumpkin aside. We're gonna start with our bowls, and we're gonna put our butter and our sugar together in a bowl. And we're gonna mix that up really good. We're gonna put our butter and our sugar together first. Should be nice and soft. And you may wanna have some extra napkins because your hands are probably gonna get a little greasy if they're taking them out of that butter package. So you can mix that together, and then you can add in your sugar. And I'm just checking how much sugar I've got. I gave you a half a cup of sugar. You can taste your butter, you can taste your sugar. You tell me, is the sugar sweet? Is it salty? What do you think? And make sure you use the sugar, not the flour. And you're gonna mix it up till it's all mixed and it's nice and fluffy. And you take a taste of your sugar and a taste of your butter. We're just creaming this all together. If we had a blender, we would blend this till it's real creamy. But we don't need them. We don't need no blender. We can do it. That's why I had you keep your butter soft. We're mixing our sugar and our butter. We stir, stir, stir until all the sugar, you don't see the sugar by itself anymore. And let me tell you, butter and sugar mixed together might be one of the best flavors ever. So I don't blame you, little people, for trying to eat it all. But we need to save it. We do need to save most for our recipes, right? Allie, you like that? It's good, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Isaiah likes it too. Yeah. Okay, so once we have that all mixed in, then we're gonna put our pumpkin in. So not the big pumpkin, not this guy. We don't want this guy in here. We wanna put the cup of pumpkin puree that I gave you. So the orange stuff. And I'm gonna measure out myself a half cup. I gave you just a little over half a cup. So we're gonna add that into our mixture. And because the pumpkin puree doesn't have any sugar, when it mixes with this sugar and the butter, it starts making it taste really yummy. And it's gonna turn it orange. These could be like Halloween cookies. So we're mixing it all up together. It's gonna look like that. Everybody's stirring so well. Good job, guys. Who likes the pumpkin? Did you taste it? Raise your hand if you like the pumpkin taste. Yeah, good. Mmm. Now we have a fun next step. I mentioned in the notes that maybe we should have a smaller bowl handy because we get to crack our eggs. And we're gonna crack our eggs into, if you're, to be on the safe side, and unless you're a professional at home, which I'm sure some of your kids are, some of your older kids definitely, but we're gonna crack our eggs into a smaller bowl just in case we get some egg shells. But what we'll do, in case you haven't cracked before, this is my egg. You're gonna tap it on the side of your bowl, but you don't want a wimpy tap. You don't wanna smash it and make a big mess. You just wanna have enough so you hear it crack. And once you have a crack, you're gonna find it with your thumbs and open it up like a book. I'm gonna open it up like a book. And then you'll see it's in your little bowl here. And then we'll add it to our mixture. So you guys try it. Take your egg, tap it on the side of a bowl. And if you smash it all together, that's okay. And if your hands get yucky, that's okay. We'll have some paper towels. You might need to take some shells out. How we doing? How's the egg cracking going? Yeah, Iris, you can do it. Give it a go. Once you have your egg cracked, then we'll put it in our mixture and mix that in. And you can wipe your hands at any time if you get them a little bit eggy. So raw egg isn't that great for us. So once we put our flour and everything else into our batter, we'll taste that batter. But I would recommend not tasting the egg. It's just maybe not going to taste that good. But we're going to mix our egg in. This is helping to give our cookies a little structure. Now this cookie recipe, I usually make it into bars, into pumpkin bars, but couldn't figure out how to do that and get you guys the right equipment to make a bar. So we've cranked up the temp a little bit and we're gonna make cookies out of them. Once you don't see your egg anymore, and it's all mixed in, then we'll be ready to move on to another step. How we doing? Good. Good stirring. Everybody's stirring so nicely. Excellent. Look at all these little chefs. You guys are great. We're going to add our vanilla too. I like to add, the vanilla just helps give it a little bit of extra flavor, and you can smell it. I would recommend not tasting the vanilla by itself. It's much more enjoyable just to smell it. And you're going to want a half a teaspoon. I'm sorry, 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon. Usually I eyeball it. I'm measuring it today. We're going to measure it. Pour it in to our mixture. And you can stir that vanilla in. And then we're going to add a couple things all at once, and then we're going to stir it. So usually they always say put your dry ingredients in a separate bowl. But what I do is I just lump all the dry ingredients on top of my wet, and I kind of stir that, and then I stir it all in. So we're going to put our flour mixture now. With you guys have bags of flour, and in there is baking soda already put in there for you. So I'm going to add a little baking soda to mine. This just helps it rise up. And so you can add your flour. You don't stir it in yet. Let's just give it a minute because we're going to mix our dry pumpkin pie spice in there too. So I've got my flour. And like I said, you guys already have your baking soda put in for you. I'm just going to add mine. And the next step is going to be putting in our pumpkin pie spice. So you have a little cup, and you can smell that. Smell it first. And you can even put your finger in and taste a little tiny bit. There's all sorts of things in here that make it really tasty. And I actually added a little extra cinnamon because there's cinnamon, there's nutmeg, ginger, cloves inside of here. Oh, might not be good by itself, right? But thank you for tasting it and smell it. That just smells like fall, doesn't it? So I gave you about 1.5 teaspoons of that, and then probably another 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. Because I just like the added cinnamon flavor. And it can taste a little spicy if you put too much of the pumpkin spice in, but you can always decide how much you like. If you decide you love that pumpkin spice, you can always make it spicier. And they call it pumpkin pie spice because that's what a pumpkin pie kind of tastes like. So we're gonna lightly stir the top, the dry, and then start mixing it into the wet. I'm gonna just keep mixing it so it's all mixed up. It takes a little bit of mixing. And we're just gently mixing. We don't need to over mix it. We're just making sure all the flour and the mixture is incorporated. How's it look? You can even have a taste if you want. See what you think of this pumpkin flavor. What do we think? I mean, sugar, right? You can't go wrong with that. Sweet. That's a big bite, Isaiah. That looks good. What do you think, River? I see you tasting it too. Are we pleased? It's pretty good. Pretty good, huh? So once we have this mixed, we're gonna add one more ingredient. What do we think that could be? Oh yeah, chocolate chips. Now I had to put a few extra in there, so make sure you get about 5 or 6 out for yourself because you need to eat them. We need to make sure they taste really good before we put them in. So take a few bites out of your chocolate chips and then put them into your bowl. I gave you, I think, about 3/4 of a cup. And we'll stir those in. I like pumpkin and chocolate chip flavors together. Once we have that mixed in, our dough is going to be ready to go. And I showed you a little trick a couple weeks ago. And Isaiah's grandma's got a great trick too. She uses an ice cream scoop, but I always use a spoon. And I gave you guys some parchment paper. You put your parchment paper onto a baking sheet once you have everything mixed up. And then you're going to take a spoonful, take your other spoon and push it onto your plate. The parchment paper is good because then it doesn't stick and you can reuse your parchment paper. Now, there was one other thing that I had as a suggested ingredient, and that was salt. We didn't put it in the batter, but I like to have a little bit of salt, and I'm at Piccadilly today, I forgot to bring mine back, but I put a little bit of salt on top right before my cookies bake in the oven. You can do it before, or you can do it after, but a tiny bit. If you have sea salt, you're going to twist it and put a little bit on top of each one. That just gives it like a nice finish of flavor. We don't like things too salty, but the salt helps bring the flavor out. So once you have your little cookies ready to bake, and they kind of retain their shape, so we don't have to space them out too much. And depending on the size that you've made, they might take 11 to maybe even closer to 15 minutes. You just kind of check on them. They're going to be real soft and cakey. Because they're like pumpkin bar, it's a pumpkin bar recipe. They're going to be soft. They won't be crunchy, but they'll be nice and soft and kind of a little bit cakey, but pretty dense too, because we've got the pumpkin in there. So if you don't have the ice cream scoop, if you take a spoon and then you take the back of your other spoon and you push it down, it'll go onto your cookie sheet real nice, and it'll be measured out around the same. We like to have the same sizes of cookies so that they cook evenly. And you do a little twist of salt just on each one, just a tiny little bit before you put it in the oven. Yeah. Oh, that's great, River. Good job. I hope your cookies taste delicious. Bye, guys.
Carol, good job.